Hello, welcome back to the Yoga Well podcast. My name is Jessica Demshar, and I am the offering and business director here at the Yoga Well, giving Chase a little break on the hosting so that we can bring on Elizabeth Cunningham Bossart, who is our resident all things Āyurveda here at the Yoga Well Institute. Elizabeth, thank you for popping on. If you want to say hi to everyone.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. So we are coming on today to talk about Ayurveda, but specifically uh, myths and misconceptions that are really common that we see out in the broader world. But before we do that, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about your journey into Ayurveda for those who might not have taken a class or heard another podcast with you?
Sure. So my journey to wellness really started in 1996. I lived abroad in Cuenca, Ecuador. It was amazing, and I traveled all through South America. And I came back, and I had a lot of small little confusing symptoms of health issues. I had some body rash. I had some digestive issues. I went to a bunch of Western doctors. I went to alternative doctors. Nobody seemed to know what was wrong with me. I ended up seeing a chiropractor who does some alternative medicine, and he said, "I don't know what you have going on, but I'm going to help you get better." And that had me go into a deep dive of books. Healing with Whole Foods with Dr. I think it's Paul Pitchford is his name.
Mhm.
And just looking at food as medicine. And after helping my body totally recover and healing, I thought, oh, maybe my calling is to help people on their paths. And simultaneous to that, I got hired as a teacher. So I started down the teaching path, kind of set aside the idea of going to naturopathic school or acupuncture school, and taught. And fast
And you're talking
forward.
like teaching like like public school.
Oh, yeah, I taught
Yeah. Okay.
art, and I taught English as a second language, and I taught eventually taught second grade bilingual, and then eventually ended up in an adult English as a second language class and got
Okay.
hired full time with benefits, and always had all my books and all my interests still there, was applying them to my health and well-being, felt really well, vibrant, giving tips to other people. And then fast forward, met my now husband, um, who really wanted to take me to India to meet his teacher, Sir. And on that trip, I found myself in the bookstores just pulling all the Ayurveda books off the shelves, having a good friend back in Santa Cruz who had studied, so I knew, had been introduced and applying some of the principles. And then I had this amazing dream. And I woke up and I said to my husband, I think I'm supposed to study Ayurveda. And it was all about the principles of Ayurveda and the teachings, and it was just really amazing. So that I started studying in India in 2008 with a Vaidya, an Ayurvedic doctor there, and then realized I needed to come back to the US to study in English. I wasn't fluent in Sanskrit, and started at Mount Madonna. And I started a master's in Ayurveda program and completed that. And then I went on to do an advanced course of study with Shubham Ayurveda, and now it's Ayurveda all the time. So I've been practicing actually since 2009. I've been maybe 2010. I've been practicing because as soon as I started to learn about Ayurveda, I realized I wanted to go out and tell everybody what I knew. I wanted to
Mhm.
share them. I wanted them to feel better more often the way I do and did at the moment.
Yeah.
So I found myself just feeling better in my body and feeling, what we call balanced. And it wasn't a busy mind, and it wasn't an anxious mind, and it wasn't a tired body, and it wasn't a irregular digestive system. It was regular sleep, regular patterns of energy, regular patterns of hunger, stable mind, more focused, more energy. So just for me, it brought me a lot of balance and a lot of sense of ease, or what we call prasana, sense of contentment.
Mhm.
And I wanted to run out and start teaching everybody and helping everybody. Um, so I started in Berkeley at a yoga studio, started seeing clients there, and migrated my practice to San Francisco, and then Sausalito, and now we've moved states, and we're in Friday Harbor. But what I love about Ayurveda is that there's something for everybody,
Mhm.
and it really, we've talked about this before, but it's the idea that we really see people as individuals. And when I started learning about that, I just was mind blowing. It was like, right, we're all different and what we need differs. And
Mhm.
that was just profound from the moment that I stepped in the classroom. So that's my background. And now I teach. I've been teaching for Yoga Well for over 10 years. I used to teach at
Mhm.
Mount Madonna and have a practice here on the island and virtually. And I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and people love you. I mean, our Ayurveda clients are some of the most consistent repeats here at the
Yes.
Yoga Well, right? We have a lot of people that continue to do every offering that you offer because these things
Yes.
are, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, there is no immediate fix that lasts indefinitely. And if there was any background noise there for a second, it was because I had to make jot down a little note, because you said something that I really love. The phrasing is that, like, you wanted to be able to help people feel better more often. And that's such a wonderful way to think about this, because certainly in the Western context, we tend to think of things as linear, and that, like,
Yes.
a fix is a fix and, like, that's it. And then you're on to the next thing. But
Yes.
we know that that's not the case, whether it's in our yoga teachings or how you teach Ayurveda. It's like we're always sort of in flux. And
Yes.
more, the goal is to be as centered as possible as often as is you are able.
Yes. Yes.
And
Very
that's
well
a
said.
well, you said it first. And I think that's
Yes.
a really, like, important distinction to make, because people often come and, as we talk about myths or misconceptions and get deeper into this conversation, people, especially if they don't have uh deep background in the Eastern arts, and with and when I say deep, I mean having specifically sought out deeper teachings than group style formats. That's
Yeah.
sort of how I consider that. The thinking is they'll come into this stuff and they'll, again, in a short or prescribed period of time, fix something and move on. And that's a
Yes.
huge learning curve.
Yes.
It's not helped by how the Western holistic complex
Yes.
has like markets to people. Like,
Yes.
everything's marketed as a quick fix. One of the things that I wanted to ask you from your background is, do you remember, like, I want you to, if you can, go more into that moment about when you started to realize the power of individual application in Ayurveda, because
Yes.
I feel like we see this, and we do offer group classes, and the caveat that, like, yes, we have these group Ayurvedic courses, but one of the things that you're so good about is delineating, these are things that can be universally applied, and if your question veers into, like, you need to see a practitioner, you need to see a practitioner. We're not going to,
Yes.
like, sugarcoat or try to give you a band-aid. And so if you could talk more about that moment when you realized, hey, this is powerful in the way seeing a chiropractor is powerful, seeing a doctor
Yes.
is powerful. Like, this needs to
Yes.
be applied one to one.
Well, as you were talking, I think what has been very profound for me with Ayurveda is when I had read a lot of like herbal medicine and healing with whole foods, I still was looking at my system as, here's my body. I take this thing, it creates balance. It removes something that's extra, or it brings into balance something that's happening in my system. When I step back further from Ayurveda and I like look at it from above, Ayurveda is actually even more than that. It's saying you have the tools in your body to be balanced. And these herbs, foods, ghee, whatever it is, different application of Ayurvedic medicine are really just to bring you back to some knowing, to
Mhm.
some sense of balance that you already have the potential to be. And I think it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to take this tincture for this imbalance. Ayurveda is saying, how do we have a systemic removal of toxins, building of my digestive fire, and rebuilding of good tissue so that then I can be healthy and well and have good relationships and good
Mhm.
communication and function on a daily basis. It was more than just take this tincture. It was more than just, do this slight variation. It's saying my body actually knows, has the potential to know what balance is. And if I can help navigate it or support it through these choices I make so it can then find its homeostasis, it was like, oh, mic drop. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's also this idea that we have this perception that we look out and we go, oh, I really want to, oh, look at Sally's house over there. And oh, Jane has a pretty nice car. And Barbara's walking her really cute dog. I want what they have. I want that house. I want the dog. I want that life. But let me tell you, every single person has a set of tendencies in their body to function and to dysfunction. So that house might be really beautiful, but there might be other imbalances. They're just not your imbalances. They are their own unique set of imbalances. And when medicine, whatever medicine you want to name it, doesn't matter. It's medicine. It's Ayurvedic medicine. It's Chinese medicine. It's Western medicine. Starts to see people as the individuals they are. They formulate the Western medication, they formulate the Eastern medication, whatever it is, as an individual science with that overview as you as the whole entity, right? Rather than like this
Mhm.
one little piece of the puzzle. I'm not giving the herb for this thing. I'm giving the herb for the rebalancing of the whole system so that
Mhm.
the body doesn't then need that herb for that one thing. And
Mhm.
then that plus the individual science, it's like mind blowing. And so
Mhm.
I'm not masking anything. I'm not going, well,
Mhm.
I'm going to band-aid this and then I'm going to band-aid and then I'm going to band-aid and band-aid and band-aid. I have people that come in and they're like, I'm on 20 different medications. I think medications are amazing. What we've done in Western science is amazing and they're life-saving. And there are times where when they start to pile on themselves, they can create imbalances. Well, I'm
Mhm.
taking this, so I got to take this for the side effects of that. And then I got to take this, and pretty soon, and then that long term application of that medication does have an effect. It might dry us out, it might create aggravation, it might create heat in the system, it might create some imbalances of blood. So, nothing is bad about Western science, but the application on our bodies, this much for you and that much for you. And let me dial it in. And okay, I'm going to take this out and add this for this person. I mean, it's profound what Ayurveda is and what it's like. It's a whole entity, it's its own thing. And I think it's helped me not want in my personal life not want to be anybody else, knowing that
Mhm.
everybody else has their own set of issues. Right?
That's
Not
excellent,
that
Laura.
I've ever really not wanted to be me, but if I had a moment of FOMO or jealousy, I'm like, Oh yeah, they probably can't poop. They probably haven't pooped for 3 days, and that person probably waking up in night sweats over there, and they probably got in a huge argument with 5 people they walked by today. Right? We all have our stuff,
Yeah,
and we idealize and we think the other is perfect. And Ayurveda is like, no, 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 no.
right.
You can have your things as well. It is
Yeah.
so rare that I have taught in a class and someone says to me, "Oh, I have no symptoms."
Mhm.
Because all the symptoms we manifest have become normalized. We all think it's, oh, we all have gas, we all have bloating, we all have headaches, we all have
Right.
PMS, we all have diarrhea. And I was like, that's a sign the body's not functioning well. you know? I remember, so to kind of take it back to your original question,
Mhm.
I remember when I started this journey and I started to understand that my mind was manifesting very vata, or a lot of wind, and very busy at that moment in
Mhm.
my life. And a lot of I was dancing a lot. I performed a lot. Was teaching, and I remember like starting to bring my wind into balance. And it was a little bit boring at first. It was like,
Mhm.
oh, I was a little excited. I liked the cha cha cha, woohoo, a little bit of the chaos. Whatever that out of balance state is for us can become a little bit, enticing to live in that place. And then we
Sure.
start to come into balance. And I thought, I'm not craving anything. I'm not craving any food or activities or, sensory, whatever things I was taking in through my senses. And it was quiet and it was settled, and then it became comfortable, but at first it was uncomfortable to be balanced, because I'd
Mhm.
been out of balance for so long, and the out of balance had become my comfortable place of being. So when I started to see that each of us have those versions of it, right? Mine at that moment of time, my vata was really high, and I thought, oh, we all have our own manifestations of this.
Yes.
And how powerful and empowering to be given a set of things that are different from the next person, because what
Yeah.
they need differs, and it's dialed in, and it's, you know really programmed, manifested, you know and try to think of the word. It's really dialed in for that person's
Right.
individual unique imbalances. It's really profound.
Well, and that it's not ever static.
It's never
Uh,
static.
it's never static, and that's, you started out sort of, talking about, "Oh, people will get a tincture, or you'll do this," and you just think, "Okay," and that I love where you started to talk about how it's about bringing awareness to the body so that
Yes.
while things might not be static, you control the ebb and flow
Yes.
more intentionally. And
Yes.
um, you know, this taps into a lot of the ways we can see, and I've confessed to you I'm guilty because I saw some, like, approaching perimenopause, menopausal age, and I was like, I think I've got thinning hair, and I saw some pills for Ayurvedic pills for, like, hair health, and I was like, I bought them,
Yeah.
and it didn't you.
Right.
But those temptations that we have to think, oh, I'll just take this thing
Yes.
and that will solve it. And
Yes.
sometimes it means I take the thing for the rest of my life, and that's okay. And that is where, like, I think the difference in Western approaches, yes, we can be counseled if you're on something like, if you have type 2 diabetes or some sort of blood pressure issues, there's medications you can take that are super helpful. And
Yeah.
yes, you can make changes to ultimately, hopefully, not need those medications, but we don't counsel a lot around that, right? There's not a lot of that structural support once you're given a prescription.
Right.
And Ayurveda, I think from how you described it and the way it's intentionally practiced, is like, hey, we're going to look at the adjustments we can make before we think about the perhaps prescribed quote unquote treatment. Let's look at ways in which we can get you back into Like, let's look at these things to bring you back more towards balance so you can make informed choices.
Yes.
Um,
Well, what it reminds me of, and when you're talking, just to kind of go back to something I've said of like the body knows. The body knows when there's not a lot of ama. Ama is a concept of sort of a sticky residue or undigested food in the body. If
mhm,
we have been functioning in an out of balance state, right? We haven't been sleeping well, our
mhm,
digestion's not working well, our mind isn't balanced, there's not a calmness in the body, there's an agitation, and we're functioning for that state in that state for a long period of time, and there's a sticky residue buildup. Sometimes we don't make the choices that are right. We are like, oh, I would like that big bag of chips, and then while I'm eating that chips, I'm going to be driving in my car and talking on the phone and not sleeping for 3 nights in a row, right? All these things, these choices that are not going to bring us into balance.
mhm,
If we start to do a rebuild of our digestive fire, clean out some sticky residue, there is that knowing, and
mhm,
we can trust a lot of that. And it's so useful to have an outside reference.
mhm,
So if I am my only practitioner, oh, I studied Ayurveda, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to eat that. It's helpful. It's no, I don't want to say that I'm powerless, but to have an outside reference that you trust.
mhm.
So, there's these companies, even the Ayurvedic medicine companies are great marketers. You buy one thing and they're like, buy this. And then you, like you said, you bought the hair formula. Fine.
Literally how what got me, because you had referred me a bottle of oil for some joint things that I was doing
Yeah.
that my cats knocked over and broke, so I went to reorder it, and then I was like, "Oh, look
I'm
at
going
all
to
the
buy
things
this.
that I can take." And it's such an impulse to do, right? And it's not, these aren't judgmental statements, but
No.
they're like, we are this Western holistic complex
Mm-hmm.
is that is the framework in which we're applying very that these concepts are often misapplied.
Yes.
And it's been a thing here at the yoga well in my tenure that I've said repeatedly, that the biggest challenge we have in terms of like bringing new people into our doors is that we actually have to use words like yoga and Ayurveda to describe what we do,
Yes.
because that sets people up with these certain expectations that have largely only encountered these concepts through this Western holistic complex.
Yes.
And they come into it with a very different idea,
Yes.
largely on like this group. These things are often taught in this group setting where, you might get a little sort of personality quiz
Yeah.
in some ways. But then everything is like applied universally in some way with the minor adjustments you can make to that scale, which
And
leads to a lot of misconceptions about how things like doshas work, how what that means to be in constitution, what that means to be in balance. And, again, these
right.
ideas that they're fixed points or that they even become identities. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that a lot in my career, that you give a Western practitioner sort of a dosha questionnaire and they come out of it and they have a new identity.
Right. Yes. Yes. So let me circle back to like three things you said.
Mhm.
Um, so, you're on the website, you're reordering, fine. I mean, this is the beauty of Ayurveda is
Mhm.
generally you
Yes.
can take the hair formula and not have any side effects
Mhm.
and hopefully find benefit, right? I mean, that's the beauty of these Ayurvedic herbs is most of them are gentle. And the caveat is this hair formula right for you, right? Having the outside reference, we just can't know it all. We
Yeah.
can't know, Dr. Singh used to come to Mount Madonna, and this was early on when I was studying Ayurveda, and he's talking about the gunas or the qualities of the mind, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. And Rajas is very agitated, Sattva's prasanna, it's content, balanced, um, Rajas Tamas, and Tamas is heavy,
Mhm.
dull. So I raised my hand and I said, "Oh, sir, I think of myself of being very sattvic." And I wasn't saying it in like an egotistical way. I was really like a pure question of heart, like a pure, like, I think I'm like, I'm kind of balanced. And he said, "Oh, Elizabeth, you're not so sattvic." And I was so like, what? But it was like so helpful because I started then my outside reference to sort of watch myself and my behaviors. And I was watching my phone all the time. I was doodling in the side of my notes. I was passing notes, right? Like my mind was so busy.
Mhm.
So even though we think we know and we've done some work on Ayurveda and there's some knowing, it's always useful to have a trusted outside reference to guide us to see what are the individual things that could really help me. What are the ways that I could really dial in what's happening with my body? So I
Mhm.
wanted to say that. And then the goal is not that I'm going to be balanced 24/7, right? I mean, this is kind of what you're saying. It's not like, "Oh, I slept, I did all my dinacharya, I did all my morning rituals, I ate really well, and there will be no issues in my life because of this."
Mhm.
It's saying whatever life is coming, like life is coming. And
Mhm.
how do I handle it? Is it stuck in me? Am I ruminating on it? Did I
Mhm.
wake up thinking about it? Is it lodged in my right hip, right? Am I holding it in my body? Did it affect my
Yeah.
digestion? Was I so nervous and anxious that I had loose stools? Am I having a stomach cramp because I'm afraid of what somebody's going to say? Or did that life, whatever that thing come, and I had no symptoms. I
Mhm.
slept well, it rolled off my back, didn't get lodged in my psyche somewhere, right?
Mhm.
It's to say that what is coming, the effect, it's not to say we don't care, but it's not affecting us as much.
Right.
That we're still, and balance in Ayurveda is good sleep. What does
Mhm.
balance look like in Ayurvedic medicine? You're getting good sleep, you're sleeping through the night, you're having regular bowel movements, you're having good regular hunger, and the mind is calm. And there's not overly amounts of symptoms or side
Mhm.
effects or right. And that's not what's being touted in front of us as the goal.
Mhm.
Just do it, do more, go more, push, 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 push. And Ayurveda is like, whoa, yes, just do it, but do it in a sustainable way.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Like, as you say that, like, I don't really know maybe what the as Ayurveda is presented, like, what is the goal? Like, in the ways a lot of people encounter it, like, it's this constant, well, just get better, feel better. But ultimately, that doesn't always equate to balance either, right? Like it's that outside perspective can help you to see that better isn't always good because we have habits, we have
Mhm.
patterns that we lean into that quote unquote make us feel better, but
Yes,
that are actually harmful. But it's the
right.
pattern that it's the fulfillment of a pattern
Mm,
um that is actually what we're doing. And yeah, I mean it's an interesting thought exercise to think about, like, well, and this is maybe just general advice if you're looking at different programs, like what is this program, what is it actually offering me?
right,
Like,
right.
like
No,
we
I
see these
mean,
things
you're
like,
asking,
when are you like this, that, but like what is it offering?
right, right. I mean, you're asking a really profound question because the answer will differ per
Yeah,
person,
for
right?
sure.
What does balance look like? How
Mhm.
does it feel in your body? For me, I don't want to wake up and feel heavy, groggy, anxious, angry, frustrated, overly hungry, nauseous, grumbling stomach, joint pain, right? I want to wake up, and it's not that I'm going to wake up and feel perfect, but there's
Right.
going to be, this is, the definition of Ayurveda is that I'm looking for samadoshaha. I'm moving towards, it's a scale, and I'm
Mhm.
moving towards balanced doshas, balanced tissues, and balanced digestive functioning, and prasana. And what is prasana? Prasana is not like, I'm just going to be, hello. And prasana is not, prasana is calm. I'm not striving, right? I mean, for me in my brain, I'm striving all the time. There's so, I always like think, oh, I have so much kapha, but man, I got a lot of pitta, striving. I got a lot of fire. I'm like achievement. I got checklists, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What if I wait? And a lot of people are in the striving, even if they're not fire element people. Like there's a lot of striving going on. We are
Yes.
all trying to
Mhm.
achieve something. We're not like sitting in a treehouse meditating. We're just not.
Yeah.
That's not what we have householders, lives, there's working, there's money, there's animals,
Yes.
there's family members, there's children, there's parent, right? There's all some kind of like doing. So
Mhm.
in the doing, is it waking me up
Right.
or is it I'm here? Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
here. Let's do this in a calm, non-anxious,
Mhm.
striving way. And
Yeah.
it's subtle. I mean, it can be very gross. It can be like I want to feel better. I can't get out of my bed and now I'm with
Yes.
Ayurveda I'm getting on my bed, but it can also be subtle. It can be
Mhm.
I'm going from my body doesn't feels a little off to when I wake up to, oh, I feel fresh. This is what they say in India and Ayurvedic. My teachers, they say, do you feel fresh? Are you fresh when you wake up? And I'm like, no. But now I'm like, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Ayurveda is providing this place for me to feel fresh. And why does it matter? Some people don't care
Mhm.
about like feeling balanced.
Mhm.
For me, it manifests in everything. Like the Ayurvedic text says, we're here in this combination of our doshas, of our the
Mhm.
makeup of our constitution for a reason. It is not random.
Mhm.
Whether that's your belief of God or universe or whatever
Mhm.
beliefs are, but that it's not a random makeup of who you are.
Mhm.
And that makeup is for a purpose.
Mhm.
So when we come from that lens of thinking, it's like so useful. Oh, I don't want to strive to be Susie and Bob and whoever's in my neighborhood or in my
Mhm.
community. I want to be a balanced version of me because it's going to serve something. It's going to serve me. It's going to serve somebody in my community. My communication is better. My relationships are better. My garden sure looks better. When I'm balanced, I mean, my literal garden is a reflection of my state right now. The garden,
Mhm.
it's like taking me 3 years, 3.5 years to get my garden where I want it to be. And I'm like, oh, that's my persona.
Yeah.
That's my reflection of my balanced state because my mind is more settled. I can think about, oh, I want to companion plant this here and
Mhm.
I need to water that at a different time of this and oh, I need to add right? And it's like
Mhm. Yeah.
so we can't always see, it's not always tangible, but what the balance is doing. So
Mhm.
many times people come to me and then they come back after I've made some recommendations like, "Oh, I feel okay, I feel a little bit
Mhm.
better." And then the partner's like, "They're so much better." They're like
Right.
sending me an email like they start snoring through the night.
Yes.
They're not yelling at me anymore. Like sometimes we don't even have that outside reference to know how we're doing.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't really. None of us really
No,
have
it's
that.
really
Like,
true.
oh, how am I doing?
Well, we also, I mean, I think we take it too hard. There's something very much in our Western mindset that outside, constructive criticism or outside feedback, these sorts of things are judgments.
Yes.
And that's just not the case.
Ye-
And what often I think happens with myself is like I'll just double down. Like I don't
Yes.
need to do blah blah blah, or I don't need
Yes.
like because there's
Yes.
nothing with me. Like
Yes.
this. I've been seeing my therapist for a few years now, and, like, that's the only thing we talk about is, like,
Yeah.
some version of if I need to change something, I can't get over the fact that it means something is wrong with me in me,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
and really what this practice is all about is that, like, hey, everything has changed. Everything is shifting. And so, like,
Yes.
you might not realize that this is better or worse, but taking in, we go so internal. We're so
Yes.
individualized.
Yes.
And it's the irony is that with yoga and Ayurveda, these are truly like to see the full benefit of these practices, it has to be done one-on-one. Whether
Yes.
meeting with a one-on-one Ayurvedic doctor or practitioner or one-on-one with a yoga teacher or yoga therapist or mentor,
Yes.
it has to be done in that capacity. The guideposts that you're looking at, yes, there's the ways in which we feel better. And yet, how are we pooping? How are we sleeping? How are we? But also, like, by and large, as Mr. Desikachar and Chase now subsequently says, like, are your relationships improving?
Yes.
And that's hard. That's very hard for us to uh, shift into that acceptance of outside feedback, knowing that it's coming from
Yes.
a, a caring place. Like,
Yes.
hey, it's not, I'm just grateful that you seem happier.
Yeah.
Not that the way you were before, there was anything wrong.
Yes.
And that's a huge
Well,
hurdle.
yeah. Well, the thread you're giving me, or that what I'm sort of taking from what you're saying, is like Ayurveda is focused on these different, like the dosha, Vata, the dhatus, the different tissues, our digestive fire, so that we can then have prasana. But prasana, this term in Ayurveda, the Sanskrit, it's talking about the quality of the mind. And what you're saying is like,
Mhm.
right, my knees are hurting less, I have more energy, my appetite, I'm sleeping better, but in this moment, in this time, in this, where we are in, this date and time, the mind. If I
Mhm.
didn't do it for any other reason than my mind,
Yes.
because as the system is less agitated,
Yes.
my mind is going to be more balanced, calmer,
Mhm.
less agitated.
Mhm.
And it's needed. It's so needed given what's happening in the world and our individual communities, our bigger communities, the world at large. There's a lot of unknowns. And so having this sense of, oh, here is, what I love about Ayurveda, and I say this in all my classes, is, there's just a closet. It's like a big
Mhm.
empty closet, and I could go into the closet and I could just throw my clothes on the floor, and I'd be able to go in and I'll find I have to dig through, and it takes me a while, and I got through, but I'm going to find the piece of clothing and I put it on. And Ayurveda is saying, that's nice. Here is now the pole that goes across. Here are the hangers. We'll give you some shelves.
Mhm.
It's just a way of organizing and thinking about the system so that our whole system can feel better, but that our mind can have more balance.
Mhm.
And then the work that we do with our therapists is a little bit more
Mhm.
efficient, or maybe efficient is not the right word, but a little bit more in depth, or things move through a little more quickly, or there's a digestion of experiences because of the
Mhm.
balance we're bringing to our body. When you were saying, there was something you were saying, and I wanted to just say Ayurveda, 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 Ayurveda.
Mhm.
Like, I remember when I started studying, I was like, this can do everything. This can do everything.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's exclusive. It doesn't have to be an exclusive Ayurveda club. It doesn't mean that none of the other medicines work. You can dig one well and just do Ayurveda, and sometimes you might need a complementary medicine to go with it,
Mhm.
right? Because there is something in it for everyone. Because it is an individualized science, it's saying, well, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
We all are being seen individually for what we need individually. Then there's something across the board,
Yeah.
like Ayurveda. And
Well,
it's like, kind of takes me back to what you said in the very beginning of, like, we have to use these terms. I want everybody to know the word. I want every, I moved to this island and I said, I practice Ayurveda, and I had someone go, huh? I came from
Right.
the Bay Area where everyone was like, I got my acupuncture, I got my Ayurveda, I got my energy worker, I got
They
my
introduce
blah, blah, blah.
themselves like dating apps have their doshas listed,
Yeah, like I'm like, this is my sign, my dosha, my diddly, my Chinese chi, my mama, my knee. I moved to an island, and like a lot of people know what I do, and a lot of people are like, you practice what? And
Right,
I was,
right.
oh, there's work to do. There's work to do because it is a science. This is the other thing. It's a science.
Yes.
People all the time are like, well, it's not science. I'm like, oh, it's a science.
Mhm,
It just happened to use a different mechanism of research. And the research was time.
mhm.
10,000 years of research, of experience, of these
Right.
are the patterns I see in treating in these ways, right? So it doesn't, what I love about Ayurveda, it doesn't exclude. It doesn't say, oh, well, not that and this. It's
Mhm.
saying, great, and let's see if we can migrate you more into this and how that brings your system into balance. And maybe you don't need those other things. And
Yeah.
ultimately, in Ayurveda, if we're practicing Ayurveda, we don't even need the herbs.
If there is someone listening that is newer to Ayurveda, we are talking about there are herbs and tinctures and foods and different ways that those things that can be applied, but there are also practices. Like there are things that do not deal with ingestion of anything, and those are commonly referred to as dinacharya, and I forget the word for the evening practices, but they're
Ratacharya. Yeah.
ratacharya, and
Yeah.
those are, you offer classes on these throughout the year, just sort of opening that up, that it's like, hey, there's actually like, you know, practices you can do. It does sometimes include breath work. It does sometimes include
Yeah.
this. It includes times of waking, times of sleeping. And,
Yeah.
it opens up a lot more in terms of the ways Ayurveda can be applied, which again, I feel like I have seen in my 20 plus years in the Western holistic complex. And I'm not trying to be cheeky using that term, but I think we have to acknowledge that there is in this hyper capitalist Western society, which gets back to like, what is it offering? Like we
Yeah.
tend to, we digest these things. These are things are served up to us
Yes.
in that way. And so,
Yeah.
they often portray themselves in the nutrition, especially with Ayurveda and yoga. It's yoga's exercise, Ayurveda's nutrition.
Right.
And as all things Eastern, really, it's like it takes a lot to understand that, well, yes,
Yes. And
or no,
yes.
like there's, none of these things are so defined. And then, of course, it gets into also sort of, there's a quick fix sense to
Right.
Ayurveda, that you're gonna take
Yes.
this and you're gonna be given these tools, and so much of the practice, that as I've come to understand it, is like these small changes. Like you say, your
Yes.
garden took 3.5 years, and it was a 3.5 years of celebration and defeats and all of these things. But then one day you looked out your window and there was this garden that you'd always envisioned, right? But you
Yes.
didn't
Yes.
you didn't just stare out that window going, "Where's my garden?"
No.
And it reminded me of a conversation, as you know, I do stuff in film, and I was having a conversation with another filmmaker about a project I'm working on, and, sort of we're commiserating over how much time these things can take. People don't understand that sometimes films are 5 years of work before you ever hit
Mm.
record
Yes.
or start getting footage. And this other filmmaker, he said, "Yeah, but isn't it, it's just like one of those crazy things that things slowly change very quickly."
Mm.
It's just like, because that's if you do
That's
the work,
Ayurveda.
if you do the work every day, things slowly
Yes.
change very quickly, because
Yes.
what you end up seeing is not the change day to day, but the trajectory, and like again, that outside, like, wow, I haven't fought with my husband in 3 weeks. Like we've had disagreements, but we haven't had those knockdown, like, or wow, in you know, it's been
Yeah.
6 months since this, or it's been, like, you have those moments of like, oh, it's almost like you can't look
It
for the
sneaks up
result.
on you.
Yes, you
Yes.
can't look for it, but if you're
No.
just in the process of doing the
If you're
work,
in the process of it.
poco a poco, day by day,
Yes.
these things get made. These changes
Well,
occur.
what you're reminding me of is what I entered into Ayurveda with the thinking of. I lived in Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz.
Mhm.
I had my proud kale shirt, right? Kale, I'm gonna home make my sauerkraut. All these things that were taking us from the fast food, and I'm going to grow kale's good for me, and I'm going to make my sauerkraut, and I'm going to go grow my own garden and make these foods. And Ayurveda is saying, well, that's wonderful. You're not
Mhm.
eating fast foods and these processed foods. That's great. Is the kale right for you?
Mhm.
And Ayurveda will say, depends.
Right.
It really depends. It really depends.
Right.
Like, kale is shaka, it's drying, it's
Mhm.
astringent. So if I'm not pooping for 5 days and I have something that's very astringent, I'm not going to poop for 5 more days.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not making that perspective wrong. It's not saying
Mhm.
the alternative lifestyle is wrong. It's saying, are these things right for you? Is sauerkraut sour and
Mhm.
salty? If I have a lot of it's fermented, it's heating. If I have a lot of heat in me and then I'm eating buckets of we don't usually sit down and have one little bite of sauerkraut for my
Right.
digestive health. We're like, sauerkraut is very heating. It's fermented, so it's going to increase heat and water element in my body. Is that right for me? Right. So
Mhm.
it's this kind of like taking where I was. I remember entering in and being like, I eat whole foods. I
Yep.
make my food, I grow my food. But is this food in its way right for me? And again, there's no judgment. That food is just being food, whether it's
Right.
processed fast food or it's like grown in my garden, it's just being. How are those qualities interacting with my body? And is that the
Mhm.
thing that will bring me the best, most balanced version of myself?
Yeah.
And, there was another thread of what you're saying of coming into it. I was like, well, I don't want to have to do anything different,
Mhm.
right? I want to just stay the same. I've already left that fast food world and I make this and I'm so healthy I'm sorry, there's no judgment. It's just my own version of myself, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I remember coming in and being like, well, I eat whole foods.
Yeah.
I eat whole grains and whole vegetables, and if I make any bread, I make it myself, and blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm healthy, and
Mhm.
generally, I am healthy. We all are. We're all health.
Mhm.
Is this the healthiest version of me for whatever space in my consciousness like wants to open and something might want to come through, right? Am I
Mhm.
busy arguing with my husband? Or I'm thinking of my own husband, like, or my dosha's balanced,
Mhm.
that there's some creative idea that wants to be born and birthed and
Right.
experienced, right? So my own rebellious self was like, I'm going to just keep doing whatever I want to do, and I don't care what this ancient science says.
Right.
And then the more I dug into it, I'm like, oh, they're just trying to help me. These sages of 10,000 years are really just saying, here's a tool bag of ways to help you for Āyurveda to have longevity and long life. And of course, you can still be rebellious. You can still have your, like, my own rebellious,
Mhm.
stubborn self that's like, well, I don't want to not do that. For 3 years, I did not want to scrape my tongue. I just
Yeah.
didn't. And then a colleague was like, just scrape your tongue. And I scraped my tongue. And I'm like, now I can't imagine not scraping my tongue.
Right.
Sometimes I don't scrape my tongue and then I start, I don't make it mean and there's no judgment, there's no meaning.
Yeah.
Just come back to the patterns, come back to the new patterns, the new samskars, the new tools. They always will help guide us into that balanced state. And it doesn't mean you don't get to be rebellious and you don't get to do your own thing. It's just saying, here's a little framework to hang your little coat on
Yeah.
and your shirt and your pants and things like that. The other thing I see a lot that you reminded me of is this kind of thing. Well, I'm going to do the same thing, but I want to have different results. We're
Yes.
not
Oh,
right. This
yeah,
idea of like
totally.
just going to like keep going, and then I want to, if I'm not going to change anything, and I'm just going to feel this other way. Like,
Mhm,
just don't, like, I think about qualities of my own mind. Like, just don't be anxious. Just don't be angry. Just don't be sad.
mhm.
That is so, like, don't feel that way. So, like,
Right.
stop ruminating on that. It's like,
I truly, the more that I have gone down my own path, one of the things that I've come to realize, and again, it's not judgment, but like all structure is, or the structure can very quickly become identity.
right.
And when it crosses that line, it is more likely not serving. I don't want to use the word harmful, but
Yeah.
it is less likely to serve you in the ways in which you um would like to see yourself served. Like
Yeah.
this identity that I am a health food eater, I eat healthy, I eat this. I mean, that comes with its own chains, because that identity, when confronted with, chips and salsa on the beach with a margarita in Cabo, it is going to mean that like you're struggling to
Yes.
be in that moment too. And there are reasons that like that moment may serve better, that it's just this like the rigidity of structure is its own thing that you have to sort of work on playing fast and loose with, because in
Yes.
Ayurveda, in yoga, you might be given something for the moment. I
Yes.
mean, I see this a lot. We see this a lot with people that um a teacher or someone told someone 20 years ago to do this thing, and when things start to get out of balance, you keep going back to that thing because it served you really well
Yes.
at the time, but it's not
Yeah.
serving you, and then
Yeah.
that creates other problems. So you have to,
Yes.
you step into the path of, I think, how, like, for me to truly step into the path of health, I've had to embrace it as a space of flux.
Yes.
Some days I'm gonna eat ice cream before bed, and I know that it's gonna make my joint pain worse when I wake up. Um, and okay, I made that choice.
Yes.
Like I
Yes.
made that choice and I really enjoyed it at the time, and it was just one time, so the pain wasn't as bad as if I'd just been like, F it, I'm gonna eat ice cream all the time because I
Yes.
just feel bad and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or these or I'm gonna restrict myself so much from, yeah, I mean, it's just, we have to be very careful. We have to step into knowing that nothing is fixed
Right.
ever. And that's
Mm.
often how, when we talked about wanting to do or have this conversation around misconceptions, if you are serious about transformation,
Yes.
you're committing to transformation.
Yeah.
Constant.
Yes.
Things
I mean,
slowly change very quickly all the
yeah,
time.
really change very quickly all the time. I love it. Um, that was very well said and very profound in what you said. I feel like, yeah, kind of tying in a bunch of comments I've made and what you've said, there are ways that Ayurveda can treat the acute.
Mhm.
I mean, you have an issue, you have an injury, Ayurveda can treat. You also get in a car accident, you go to the ER, right?
Yes.
Also has a whole science of acute medicine. But I think the more profound or the more interesting aspect is this aspect of over time. And the garden as a metaphor, we brought some dirt in, I planted some seeds. Um, it just was a learning curve,
Mhm.
and it wasn't immediate, and it was
Mhm.
very, um, it was a good garden. It wasn't a bad garden. There was no good or bad. It was just like a garden, right?
Mhm,
Um, but what that soil needed, it needed to be, there was things I brought in, a lot of chicken manure. I brought in
mhm,
all these things, right? Over time, the soil's been built up. So, and that we are an evolution.
mhm,
What we're going to need for in Ayurveda now is going to differ than what we need in Ayurveda later on. Things
mhm,
change. There's a passage of time. It's hard because we get in our habits
mhm,
and we get in our samskaras, we get in our patterns, and we want to continue the trajectory. Well, I like these foods. I like doing this before bed. I like going on this vacation. And Ayurveda is saying, well, are those things that you're linking to serving
mhm.
you? Are they
Right.
the best for your, whatever wants to come through you? I
Mhm.
mean, I love this idea of Elizabeth Gilbert has a book. I have to look it up, but it's the big idea.
While you're looking that up, some of what you're talking about reminds me of the parable or story of, there's the religious zealot that believes so much in their higher power that can't swim,
Right.
but they throw
Yes.
themselves in the water because they are like, "Oh, I believe my God will save me." Like he is like, I believe
Yes.
so strongly my God will save me. And people are tossing like, life
Yeah.
preservers out and life vests and all these things. And this person's going, no, 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 my higher power will save me. And then ultimately they drown. And when they get to meet their higher power, they're like, why didn't you save me? And they're like, why didn't you grab a life preserver?
Right.
like
Yes.
those, I put those tools, I put the like that when we're looking at these things, we have to understand that tools come in strange ways and that it's not
Yes.
our place to question them,
Yes.
but to be aware when things are are presenting. If we are truly seeking, the answers will
Yes.
come. And
Yes.
this is hard for us in the West. I think this
Yes.
is we don't give enough time and space to discussing that this is hard.
Right. It's hard because we get very comfortable. We get
Mhm,
comfortable in the patterns and the ways of being and what makes us feel good, right?
mhm,
Like we've had a certain set of routines and then we find, oh, I feel really good. I feel happy. I feel joyous. And Ayurveda sometimes says, well, yes, and let's shift this slightly and adjust this over here and
mhm.
tweak this. And that will benefit you even more. But it doesn't mean that we're going to be 24/7 living in that pocket,
Yeah.
right? We can always, it's an evolution and it's changing and it's
Mhm.
not static.
Right.
So I think about this as a practitioner, like the practitioner I was when I started practicing versus the practitioner I am now. That's not the same practitioner,
Mhm,
right? There's a lot of information, experience. Is it better or worse? Who's to say? It's just an
mhm,
evolution of who I was as a practitioner and who I am now.
mhm,
So balance is the idea that there's an absence of symptoms, but there's also a sense of contentment,
mhm,
right? So if I'm working towards that, I'm going to have moments where I'm feeling that way, and then I'm going to come off the rails, and then I'm going to come
mhm,
back on, and then I might move the track to go a little slightly different direction. That's
mhm,
all part of the process. And if we are being too rigid, right? This
mhm,
is what you're talking about, the structure of rigidity of being too rigid, that can also be very harmful for a lot of people,
mhm,
right? Like you have to do it perfectly. And the Ayurvedic doctor said, do this and don't do this. And this is bad and this is good. No, 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 no. Here is the pole. Here's a few clothes. Some of the clothes will fall on the ground. I'm going to put a few other clothes up on the hangers, right? We're moving towards, it's a spectrum, and we're moving continually towards feeling an absence of symptoms and more persona and contentment. And that may look different at different times, like what
mhm,
contentment, it's going to vary over time. But the idea is that I'm not having pain when I wake up. I'm not having excessive hunger. My
Mhm.
mind is calm. I'm not agitated. I'm not angry. I'm not barking orders at people. So it evolves, and having a touchstone in the middle of it, right? If coming in and touching with somebody, touching base with somebody, our
Mhm.
Ayurvedic practitioner, our Vina yoga practitioner, and having that outside reference to sort of help and guide us. Because, what I wanted to say about the big magic from Elizabeth Gilbert, it's called The Big Magic. She writes that the idea that there is all of these ideas, and there's like millions of ideas floating all around us, and
Mhm.
that we can have this amazing idea, but it may not be our dharma, our path to actually bring that idea into form. Somebody
Mhm.
else, you go, oh my God, I had that same idea, and look, they had that idea, and they did it, and they're doing this and this and this. Ayurveda, what I love about Ayurveda, if I bring that ancient concept and mix it with this kind of, new woo woo concept of like, there's ideas and they're all like percolating all around me, is to say that Ayurveda would say, if you are balanced, whatever idea or thing or experience that you will be doing or living or being will happen because you've given it space. When I'm out of balance, my body is busy functioning
Mhm.
and recovering and banding, putting a band-aid over here, right? It's recovery. When I'm not balanced, everything I'm doing with my yoga and Ayurveda is like recovery.
Mhm.
I didn't get enough sleep, my yoga recovers me. I didn't eat really well, my Ayurveda recovers me. If I'm generally feeling well, digestion's functioning, body's feeling good, mind is calm, and I'm doing my practice and I'm doing my Ayurvedic practice and my yogic practices, what space is there?
Mhm.
There's an expansive amount of space for a magic idea to come into
Mhm.
form, for your dharma to be, maybe your dharma is not to bring an idea into form. Your dharma, your purpose is to sit in meditation, or maybe it's to help your neighbor. I mean, I've been 3 years unpacking, working on that garden. I haven't been able to help anybody.
Mhm.
And now I'm feeling my sleep is getting better, my energy's getting better. Oh, I can go help my friend pack her car, or, help the
Mhm.
neighbor go to the grocery store, or like I'm available.
Mhm.
So yours might not be the big magic of an idea manifesting, but what are you available for when
Mhm.
you are coming from that balanced state? And that's the piece that is the misnomer. Like, oh, Ayurveda is a set of principles and rules and rigidity, and I got to follow XYZ and ABC and bleh. Well, what if I actually did a couple of them, a couple of these practices, a little bit of my yoga? What space opens up to come? Is it me just sitting more and being? Is
Mhm.
it me going on a road trip? Is it me helping my neighbor? Like, what gets to be there rather than my recovery,
Mhm.
right? What gets to be there? And it is amazing, and it's time. I'm talking about a 3.5 year window. I moved to a place 3.5 years ago, and I'm like, I had to go through boxes of inherited things. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? But what gets to be born now, that there's a little calm, that there's a little space, that there's a little pause? My garden is growing literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think rather than the rigidity and the structure and the,
Mhm.
you need to do this, it's saying, here's some tools. I'm going to lay them before you and
Yeah.
choose. And I always tell people, like, where's the opening? Don't
Yeah.
go to the place of like most resistance. I don't
Right.
want to do that. I saw that Ayurvedic lady and she told me to do this, and I'm not going to do
Right.
it.
And
Don't
because you're not going to, if that is true, you know,
do it.
understand you're not going to do it, and that, like,
Not going to do it.
so then where do we, again, that we have to be careful that structure doesn't become rigidity, in that,
Yes.
like, this is what I've always known, this is, and, uh, I think the garden, the house, the movie, I mean, our story, we're here in New Mexico 7 years, and I mean, we have more house projects. And, like, and some of the best advice I was given that I think is just so universally applicable is it's very easy to look out at your garden and be like, "God, I've done all of this stuff," and, like, it still looks as, barren as it did 2 years ago, or
Yeah.
whatever sort of thing, and, I had someone say to me about stuff on our house, like, we're always making to-do lists, but when was the last time you sat down and made a "look what I've done" list? And it
Yes.
sort of centers you in, like, "Okay, well, we really did paint that, and we really did do this, and we really did," and, like,
Yes.
even if these things maybe aren't cosmetic, or they're not the glamorous or the sexy things we
Yes.
wanna do, like, we have done so much, and
Yes.
that it again, this sort of center and balance of when you are on a journey of health and wellness, if you're thinking about how you're not where you wanna be, you're gonna lose all the benefits of all the things
Yes.
that are better, right? Like, when you can
Amen.
say,
Preach
"I'm
it,
not this,"
sister.
like, "I'm not this anymore, I'm not that anymore," and, um, yeah, it's just the constant of coming back to center, which I do wanna kinda make a little bit of a segue into talking about your classes here at the Yoga Well.
Yep.
And in general, this conversation just had me thinking about our classes in general at Yoga Well, in that one of the ways that we differ from other yoga or, uh, Eastern modality institutions, is that we are not the place you come for your whole practice. And I don't know that I've really thought about it in that way before, because if you belong to a yoga studio, you go, you do your yoga, and that is where a lot of people, that is where yoga sort of starts and stops. And for us, a lot of our teachings really do sort of, assume that you are doing a practice on your own in some form. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be drastic, but you have a little breathing practice, or you are implementing some Ayurvedic lifestyle, whether in herbs or diet, but in a guided way. You have an individual practice. And then the classes that we offer support your practice.
Yes.
Right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's a difference, because you're not coming here to us for the whole enchilada. We are
Yeah.
the tortilla that contains everything within, but
Yes.
it's it's not the whole enchilada, but it's incredibly integral to being an enchilada, right?
Well, as you say,
So
it's a foundational piece.
yes, yeah, like that there is the individual and the external, and that you're getting these feedbacks. So your Ayurveda classes, why don't you talk a little bit about how you structure those here? Because we do
Sure.
offer them. They are a group format. We just sort of spent all this time being like, yeah, don't do it as a group. But there's uh
Yes.
space for
Yeah.
everything, and everything in its space.
Yes. Well, let me also just say that, like, you are enough, right?
Yeah.
What you've done, you in the particular, you in the general, good job, right? I think that it's enough. Like, there's a
Yes.
way that some people, it's all new. They're coming to it and
Mhm.
it's fresh, and they're like, what am I doing? This is like, whoa, there's all this information, and this is like different than the way I've been thinking about myself in the world. And a lot of people have been doing a lot of practices for many years, right? And like, I mean, what I hear is like, let's pat ourselves on the back, you know? Like, there is so much that we like are doing as a collective whole, individually. Recently, someone came over to visit for some friends on the island, and she's a new friend, and she said, "You've done good. It's enough." And I was like, "Thank you." I wanted to just bawl, like, Like,
Yeah.
to get you to this class, to get you to this podcast, there's some
Yeah.
awareness, there's some awakening, there's some work you're doing, something you're
Yes.
looking for, some, some evolution. So I just want to say that, because that thread of Ayurveda, because yes, there's always more Ayurveda I can do. I don't wake up and
Mhm.
do all the dinacharya. I don't wake up and do all the morning practices. I do some of them. And there's times where I don't do any of them. I'm traveling and then I come back to them. And it's like a dance. And I
Mhm.
feel, oh, right, when I do those, I'm not recovering. I'm now thriving. I'm not just striving and recovering. I'm thriving when I'm doing those practices. So the more we feel better, the more we want to feel better, and the more linking we do to them, to those practices naturally.
Mhm.
So, I guess I just also want to acknowledge, like, wherever you are in the journey, you've done a good job to get you to this
Mhm.
place. And it is an evolution, and it's not that I'm going to, from now until the next time I see you, I'm going to do X, Y, Z and ABC. I'm going to do where there's an opening, and I'm going to move in a certain direction on a spectrum towards balance, and then it's going to fluctuate because there was a stressful situation, and then I was in a
Mhm.
traffic, and right, it's always fluctuating and moving in a direction. And I teach, so I taught before Ayurveda. I was a teacher. And what I saw in my practice is a lot of people coming to me with big stacks of papers given to them by other practitioners
Mhm.
of, eat this, do this, go, blah, blah, blah. And it was like 20 sheets. And they come to me and their eyes would be crossed and they're like, I know this is going to benefit me, but how do I integrate this? And I realized that I was also a bridge, because I started to learn some of the Sanskrit. I've been out in the world for, my life, and I've been teaching, and I thought, oh, I can help. I need to help bridge the person who might not know what this is to this information that's so vast. It's so big. And I also saw that there were ways when people were talking about their experiences, it helped other people. Like me saying, oh, I didn't, and this is how I felt. It's one person, but a whole group saying, I tried this. I tried to make ghee and I burnt it. And then the next person, oh, well, I tried this and this worked really well. And the sharing of experiences, we want, like, to be in an Ayurvedic community is very powerful, because you're not the only one making ghee. You're not the only one using the spices in your herbs. You're talking about the experience. I am trying to translate the information, create the
Mhm.
bridge. And there are practices in Ayurveda that can benefit everyone. There are the dinacharya, the morning routines, the Ayurvedic cooking, that everyone can benefit it. It doesn't, there are very individualized aspects to Ayurveda, and then there are, okay, everyone can benefit from this information and knowledge. And those are the classes that we teach in Yoga Well.
Mhm.
And they focus on things that everyone, no matter what, if you know your dosha, you don't know your dosha, you don't know what dosha means, can benefit from. So you can be on those classes and get pieces of Ayurveda that you can integrate in your life and feel benefit right away. That can be the version of the West quick fix, are some of these classes, right?
Well,
Uh,
and that's to that end, our classes, like, we don't have beginner, intermediate, advanced. We have class.
yeah.
And you show up because there are,
Yes.
I've mentioned a couple times, we have a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners that take nearly all your classes throughout the year, and they've been doing Ayurveda for a long time. And, like, we confuse new information with useful information
Yes.
often,
Very well said.
and that, like, sometimes it's not new information that you need, it's to revisit something that you heard before, to be reminded of something that um, because a lot of this stuff, yes, for as focused as it can be,
Yeah.
it's also not that broad of a skill set. But it's one thing to know, um, about uh pomegranate juice being cooling. And it's another thing to drink it in the winter and then be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm always shivering," and like, and being reminded like, "Hey, you need to switch," or this
Yeah.
may be something like we all need that. If we could learn things and never need to learn them again, we wouldn't, the Yoga Institute would not exist. Self-help sections would not exist. Marriage counselors would, you know, not have practices like it's these are things that are constant revisiting. And so what I love about seeing each iteration of Ayurveda that comes about is this blend of people in all of our classes. Like how often somebody who maybe hasn't done a class with us for 4 years pops back up and goes, "Hey, it's time. I need this again." Because
Yeah.
like, I need to kind of go back to basics because it's time for
Yeah.
a shift because I have
Yeah.
changed or
Yes.
um, my circumstances have changed. And so,
And
um,
what I was going to say is that maybe I've heard the same thing 4 times, but
yes.
each time I hear it, what I need from that thing being said differs. I mean, this
Mhm,
is what you're saying. Because of
mhm,
my own evolution, I listened to 30 minutes of this talk.
yes.
Elizabeth said this, Chase said this, Jess said this.
Yep.
But now on the fourth version, I'm taking out a different nugget. There's a different piece that I'm ready for. I'm like, okay, this is the piece that needs to land. I mean, I take classes all the time of Ayurveda. Like I'm on in these Ayurvedic medicine groups, and there's little talks that are given, and sometimes I roll my eye and go, well, I know about that, and I go, just go and be on it,
Mhm,
because it reminds us of what we know. Maybe we've studied Ayurveda, but then we're going, oh yeah, I
mhm,
need to. Teaching the classes, there are pieces that I integrate and learn from all the time.
mhm,
It's like, what is available to me now? Who am I now, and what do I need to integrate now?
mhm.
So and
Yeah.
there's a way that, yeah, I mean, I've sort of already said this, but being seen and being in community while you're practicing, even though it's an individualized science, and I would say, Vini yoga is an individualized yoga, there is a powerful coming together.
Mhm,
It's very powerful to come together and witness somebody in their application of yoga and Ayurveda. So it's affirming. You're in a community for people who are all over the world, all over the country. You're not alone. They're
mhm,
experiencing the same, you're having these benefits, and you're going, is that possible that I did that one thing and my sleep is so much better? And then Joe and Susie say on the class the same thing that you'd experience. That's like very useful and helpful, and to be a
mhm.
part of a whole of something rather than practicing the Ayurveda by ourselves. And it's just very empowering.
Yeah, community's great when everyone takes their appropriate medicine.
Yes. Very well said.
It really
Amen.
works well when everyone's sort of doing what they need to do.
Right. When
Like,
they need to
it's
do it,
that
it's
that
so.
yeah, but there is that total balance. And, coming up, depending on when this airs or when you're hearing it, we will probably be in a new iteration of Ayurvedic cooking, which is, really open and broad and just sort of a great way to integrate different cooking modalities, different cooking styles that you might not be used to, but also learn along the way some things that are universally applicable, things you can have in your house. I'm particularly excited that we'll be offering with you for the first time this year an Ayurveda through the holidays, which is like going to be structured around like, hey, starting, mid-November through
Yes.
mid-January, there's going to be this support for a time of the year that gets off balance for everyone. And,
Yeah.
sort of acknowledging like, hey, this is a different this is an interesting time of year. And,
Yeah.
what you usually do may not be accessible to you. So
Yes.
how do we stay in balance together? And so
Love
those
it.
things you can definitely see on the Yoga Well website. Um, you do see your own clients as well. You see individuals, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the best way to get in touch with you for individual client work or questions about Ayurveda or the classes are just at elizabeth@yogawell.com, right? Email, best
Perfect.
way. Yep. There's that. And yeah, any other places people can find you, or I think we're definitely going to need to continue this conversation because it's so fertile. And I know there's a lot of like myths and misconceptions that
And we didn't
we
even
didn't
get
touch
into
on.
all the myths and misconceptions.
No, like, there's just so much,
There's so
but
much. We barely just like did introduction, and there's so much more.
yeah, yeah, but that's the beauty of this, and again, it's not about, like, what you may know or may have been taught is wrong, it's just, like, if there's a even in Western medicine, if you have, like, a blood pressure issue and there's a medicine that can help you, why would you only take 10%? Why let something slip past? When
Yes.
if it's simply just clearing up, like, an appropriate application, and so we'll talk soon, and again, you can be found at elizabeth@yogawell.com, the Yogawell website. We'll list any current, Ayurveda offerings that we have, and yeah, thank you. This has been
Thank
great. I
you,
can't wait
Jess.
to myth bust some more,
Yes, let's do it.
and hopefully to see more and more people coming into this, Ayurveda space,
Yeah.
open to, things they might not have thought of that Ayurveda can do. So
Thank
perfect.
you so much, Jess.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Bye,
We'll see you soon.
everybody.
Bye.